Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BuckeyeHuddle.com live postgame show. I am Mark Givler. We are going to be talking with lots of people here. We got Devin Radcliffe with me. We're going to have some other guys on here momentarily. Ohio State 27, Michigan 9. The national nightmare is over. The Buckeyes dominate after a bit of a shaky start and cruise to a 27-9 victory, setting up a undefeated matchup, 1 versus 2 against Indiana in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis next Saturday night. But before we get to that, we get to talk about the Buckeyes getting some revenge, getting back to normal, restoring order, however you want to put it. Devin, it felt that Michigan was going to have a really hard time scoring today, and if Ohio State just didn't hurt itself offensively, that they were going to be able to do this. But I want to do a quick welfare check on Ohio State fans, because that was not an easy start if you have PTSD from the last few years. We'll make sure everyone made it through the first quarter, because if you made it through the first quarter, you had a great day today. That start made you feel before they kind of settled into things.
You know, I gotta go to Ross Fulton right off the bat. You know, I think he'd done the research. I think the past couple of years, Michigan's first touchdowns came off of Ohio State turnovers, and in particular interception. So, like you said, right off the bat, second play of the Ohio State's offensive series, they throw the interception there to give Michigan a short field, and for Ohio State to hold them there to just a field goal was a huge indication that things were changing for the Ohio State's favor there, even if it didn't seem like it at the moment. So you're exactly right. You know, first quarter, you could not have had about as bad a start as possible. But, you heard Coach Day talk all week about the process and sticking to his process and what they've been doing all season long and not really deviating from it seems to be the theme that was going around this week, even going so far as flying to an away game when they've typically for the past, who knows how long, driven a bus up 23 to Ann Arbor and just sticking to the process. And I think that just shows the character of the team. As rough as the start is, no one seemed rattled. No one seemed to have a panic moment. They just went back out there and did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, that, like I said, that had to be a little unnerving for Ohio State fans at the beginning, just because, just the way some of these games have gone over the years where it wasn't necessarily about talent. It was just mistakes and miscues and preparedness and everything else. But boy, once they settled in, this was a dominant performance after those first couple series. Ohio State dominated on both sides of the ball. And this is kind of what I was hoping they would do and what I talked about a lot here over the past year, really, in regards to this game, is throw to open up the run. You don't have to come out and run the ball 50 times right off in the first 3 quarters. Get yourself a lead, do what you do best, and then you can pound away. And that's exactly what they did today. They got the throw game going with Julian Sayin. The stars showed up, and then they took Michigan's will on the second half via the ground game. But you can do that once you've shown that you are a threat with the pass.
And I think something to be said, too, they didn't necessarily just come out just playing chuck and duck, just trying to throw the ball over there. They're smart passes. They stuck within what they've been doing all year. If anything, you could say this might have been an exclamation. And, there wasn't, hey, we're going to abandon what we've been doing all year and play 10 personnel and just try and throw it over the place. They stuck to what they've been doing all year. And when the shots were there, number 10 dropped back and took them. And you saw the importance, this obviously goes without saying, of number 4 and number 7, when they're healthy, just the difference they make in the offense. They both made huge touchdown receptions. And then obviously Brandon Ennis as well, but they stuck within their offense, stuck to the process, kind of the recurring theme we heard all week again, and executed it. Even in, biggest game of the year for them. They just went out and executed, played their style of football.
Yeah, nothing they haven't done already. Nothing special that they needed to do. They just needed to go out there and yes, kind of treat it like any other game. You don't have to you want to play with the energy and the emotion, but philosophicically, you don't have to change the type of team that you are, the style of play that you like to play. So I was very happy. I thought that was a big moment there for Ryan Day to kind of just not worry about, we have to be the toughest team in the first quarter and we have to, just go out there. People are going to say what they're going to say anyway, regardless of how you play. They're not going to, change their minds about you because people just don't. But just a huge, huge, huge victory for Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. And again, they wouldn't say it. Caleb Downs was kind of asked, during the week, like, does this mean more to you? And he kind of said, no, I want to win all the games the same amount. And like they gave good lip service, but this was a thing throughout the offseason where quietly behind the scenes, I think if you had asked everybody, you're either going to repeat as national champions and lose to Michigan again, or you're not going to repeat as national champions and you're going to beat Michigan. I think a lot of people would have said, in that locker room would have said, I want the gold pants. Like, the national championship's almost secondary this year. Now they'll get to focus on the national championship. It's now all there in front of them. But this was a huge deal for this team, regardless of what they were saying publicly about it. As we wait for Ryan Day at the podium, we'll see when he shows up, if this will be a quick entrance or not. But my 3 and out, my first thing I want to talk about, Julian Sayin, unflappable. Disaster start for Sayin. The defense gives up a field goal drive. Sayin goes out there on the second play, throws an interception. It's okay, here we go. Julian's never played in this game. He's from California and the weather, and people were kind of talking about that during the week. And all of a sudden, just red hot out of that opening mistake, and the way he was just able to settle in, and the offensive line obviously helped him out a lot too, but the way he was able to just recorrect on that or whatever and put that in the rear view and go out there and just throw the ball beautifully, I thought was really impressive, Devin.
An observation I like to make is, the first 2 plays of the game were it seemed obvious, were designed to go to Tate and to go to Smith. And, went 0 for 2 on those first 2 plays. All right, you come back out and you get away from your designed for this guy plays. As counterintuitive as that seems, you think you want to get the ball to 4. You obviously want to get the ball to 17. It almost seems like he picked it back up when they got back in there. Hey, let's just play our offense. And just bounced back, started working the ball down the field. He takes what's there. And when the shots are there, we saw today, he converted a 4th and 5 for a touchdown, 50-yard longest touchdown pass in the game since I think I saw was a 2019 Fields to Olave was 60 yards or something like that. So let's Julian get in and play his game. And we've seen all season long what he can do when he's just in there and playing the way he's comfortable playing.
Yeah, and look, I picked Ohio State. 24-10 was my prediction, and I felt even better about that. I usually don't read too much into like the little 30-second pregame interviews. It's usually just nonsense. But Ryan Day was like, "We're going to get after it right away. We're going to be aggressive right out of the gate." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he said it like very much, kind of loosely, but just matter of factly. And I'm like, here. And then of course they did. It didn't start well, but I said, okay, he gets it. I knew they weren't going to come out and run the ball, between the guards 10 straight times to start the game because they got to prove some mythical point to somebody. And they ran their offense, and everyone had a hand in this. Julian Sayin had a great game. The receivers played tremendously well. Bo Jackson had a great game. CJ Donaldson did his job there in the second half as the power back, and kind of took a lot of wind out of their sails there in the second half with some of the drives they were able to do. The offensive line, which was my second point, one of my points in my 3 and out, the offensive line dominated. Julian Sayin was virtually untouched today. And people have been talking about the run game this year. They ran the ball down Michigan's throat. After the first quarter, especially in the second half. In the second half, everyone in the stadium knew what was coming, and Michigan still was having a hard time getting. They had an 18, 19 play drive that took 12 minutes. I mean, it was a thing of beauty from the offensive line today. And if you're worried about the offensive line, like if that's one of your concerns, because I hear that a lot, and I've said it too at times, like what could possibly, derail this team is like, well, is that offensive line, especially the right side of that offensive line, going to be able to be up to the challenge in these types of big games where you have to be able to establish the line of scrimmage, both in terms of the run game, but you need to protect your quarterback as well. And this was, in my opinion, by far the best all-around game the offensive line played this year.
It's definitely an exclamation point on what they've been working towards. It does seem like, just kind of watching the game live, they went back to a lot of that counter that they found in the playoffs last season. So you saw a lot of block down, kick out, wrap, pull around, hit the crease, get downhill run game. And to your earlier point, with the pass game early on in the game, you forced Michigan's defense to keep two safeties high. It seemed like, watching it live, because you had to account for 4 and 17 beating you over the top, which they both did. And as a result, you saw the Ohio State run game, like you said, throw to open up the run. And next thing you know, they're just churning out yards. I think there's something to be said for staying, even on 2nd and 8, is still better than, 1st and 12 and 2nd and 12, excuse me. So just staying ahead of the sticks, moving people off the ball. And I think at the end of the game, I saw the statistic was,
I think Ohio before State this game, we talked about.
Let's go to OSU post game here real quick. We'll get back to that.
And going out there, play for the love of your brother, not for the hate of the other team. And I thought we did that today. Just a bunch of band of brothers playing for each other. And, we talked about it before the game. Like, we got to win in the second half. We lost the second half. So that was a big thing. We came in the second half and whooped them.
Or to his left, Tim Mack. When the game first started, they had some success. What did you guys just batten down from there?
Yeah, you get to the sideline, clean it up. I think a lot of the stuff was, mistakes on our side of the ball. Not necessarily they're just dominating us or they're just out physicaling us or anything like that. It was just our own mistakes.
How much did you want this victory? You're a guy. You're still
Man, I was 0-3 coming to this game, so I really wanted it. But I think we're gonna enjoy this one. But we're what up next?
Over here to the left, Austin Ward. Sonny, can you describe you guys the amateur process? That's the only thing we talked about. Had one from the board. Has any of that sunk in? What do you process?
Yeah, I remember I was in the fourth quarter. I was talking to Peyton Pierce on playing in the game right now. Both teams trying to get to the Big Ten championship. It's snowing. It's end of November. Like, it's the stuff you dream about. Daydream a little bit on the sideline, but it means so much. Being a Columbus kid, been a Buckeye fan since I was a kid, so it's awesome.
Rob Aller, dispatch.
So happy for him. Coach Day is an amazing leader. He's an amazing coach. I think a lot of people had stuff to say about this game when it comes to him, and I think he proved the point today.
Cameron Teague Robinson, the Athletic.
Obviously you get this kind of weight up, so we're going to win like this.
Yeah, I think it just feels good to know you can kind of win in different environments. I think they came out here on at least for the defensive side of the ball. They're trying to out physical them. So it feels good to know that we're capable of doing that. A few weeks, I feel like we haven't really played a team that was a matchup game, so it felt good to go out and just dominate.
Brandon brought it up. A different side of day since that loss out every single day. Is there maybe this game, or does it just kind of you're locked back in?
No, was on the chase. As soon as we won last year and we came back in for our meetings for the next season, you could tell he was on the chase, trying to get back to where we just came from. I think obviously this game feels good. This is one of our main 3 goals. Haven't been able to get it the past few years, so it feels good to get it. But I think it's just bringing us into like what's coming up next in the bigger goals.
I'm going to go 2 more for Sonny. Bill Landis over here to the left.
Sonny, when you're talking about being on the sideline, what's Matt Patricia like in those moments, and how beneficial is it to have him down there on the sideline?
It's awesome. It's like a sense of ease. He brings poise to the sideline. He's an awesome. I've always said Coach Patricia, the best thing about him is he's a teacher. And the way he's able to articulate his thoughts and help all of us understand, what's going on and what we're thinking next, and stand on our toes when he's out there.
Pat, Jake, Chuck, Bill, any of you national guys need to have a question? Go ahead there, Pat.
What has made this defense take that step up this season?
I think it's a lot has to do with Coach Patricia. I think he's a great coach, great teacher. He's making us a smarter defense. He does a good job teaching fundamentals, and then that kind of just sprinkles down through all the rest of the coaches. So he's done an amazing job, and then just instilling the mindset.
Maybe one more, anybody? Jeff, go ahead. I got you, Chuck.
We knew they were kind of trying to figure out if they're going to play or not. But, I think we had a lot of confidence going in the game, whether they played or not. At least for the defense side of the ball, we felt like we were going to win the game on the defense no matter what. But, obviously having two elite receivers out there helps a lot.
And final question, Chuck Culpepper.
Kind of defense, has it become the kind of where if they had scored a late meaningless touchdown, you'd still been mad over it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're mad about every point. We don't want to give anyone anything. We got to make them earn it.
Great. Sonny, thank you very much. Careful. All right, we'll be back with Coach here shortly, guys. No, but we'll have some.
That was Ohio State captain Sonny Styles. Ryan Day will be with us shortly. We're also awaiting Michigan's post game, so we will try and get as much of this stuff as possible here. Bounce back and forth if we need to. See who comes out here first. So I don't want to get too far down the rabbit holes, Devin, because we're going to get interrupted here by something. But what do you think this has to feel like the weight of the world is off Ryan Day's shoulders now? I mean, he's got a national championship now. He's back on the winning side of the Michigan game. He's going to Indianapolis for a Big Ten championship. He's got a generational defense behind him and an offense that seems to get better as the season goes on. And a lot of these key players, especially on offense, could be back next year. I mean, this has to he has got to be as, I won't say relaxed, because I don't think you ever be relaxed as a college football coach, but he has got to be as comfortable, as happy as he has been since he took this job.
Well, I go back to last year in the playoff run on the way to national championship, and you look at some of the historical challenges that the Ohio State football program has had as a whole. Goes without saying, you go back, 20, 30 years, and as always, Ohio State can't beat an SEC team. Well, along the way to the national championship, he runs through two of them. They get the big Rose Bowl win over a team that upset them in the beginning of the year. Again, all the way on the national championship. This just feels like now, instead of a program now, it is for the head football coach who has, for better or worse, has not had a great record in the big rivalry game to get that, like you said, get that weight off of his shoulders of, I did this. It's not I can do this. I've done this again. 2019, he obviously started fast, and had a big win in that game, but had been on 4 games in a row or whatever it was. So to come out and not only just win, but win in the fashion they did, basically, when controlling the entire, basically 3 quarters after that first quarter, really just puts an exclamation point on everything they've been working towards during this regular season.
And I do think it's appropriate to point out that Michigan has not beaten Ohio State since Fox hired Dave Portnoy. So that's an interesting stat. That's an interesting stat right there. That's just a fact. So let's keep a close eye on that.
That is an interesting development that had not occurred to me at this point. But again, for Coach Day, again, I'm sure it's a huge personal victory for him. Obviously for these, you heard Sonny Styles say it, for all the, Columbus kids, all the guys on the team last year who came back and to kind of right that wrong from last season. Even national championship, like you talked about before, you still had that missing piece that you didn't get on your way there. And now this season there, hey, you've go ahead and righted that wrong and put yourself on the right side on the win column there for the next 364 days.
And we are still waiting for Ryan Day. They're doing sound check there at OSU Post. This might be a good segue. Ryan Day is my game ball recipient today. Just for multiple reasons, but obviously it's a big win for him. But most importantly, the way they played. I was so concerned about the way they were going to play, not execution-wise in terms of executing what they wanted to do, but just in terms of, are you going to go into a shell like last year? Because that was obviously an issue. Or are you going to come out and just be the team you're supposed to be? And then they come out and his young quarterback throws an interception. I'm like, uh-oh. Now is he gonna really button this thing up? And he didn't. He trusted his quarterback. He trusted his offensive system, his coaches, his players. And so I thought this was a really, really well executed, well thought out and well executed game plan for Ryan Day. So, and here he is. So that was perfect.
Your business, streak is dead, etc. What's just going through your mind right now?
Well, I'm happy for our players. I'm happy for the coaches, all the fans who were at the game. Man, it was great to see all the fans, stay all the way towards the end and cheer on our team. And here in the OHIO, right here in the stadium, it was a great moment for our players. They deserve it. They worked hard. I thought they played physical in this game. And happy for our coaches. But again, like I said, the fans even who weren't here, they'll be able to wear that block O and, stand a little prouder. And so that means a lot to me, means a lot to the coaching staff, to the players and my family. So, I've thought, as you can imagine, over the years, after winning this game, what I'd say in this press conference. And I'm going to save all those comments because I think the best thing to do is win with humility. And that's what we're going to do. And I think that's it speaks to our program. It speaks to what it means to be a Buckeye. And we wanted to take this rivalry game back this year. And so the way that our guys played certainly spoke to that. And they played with great passion and great physicality. And, I was disappointed that we didn't get in down there and finish a couple of those drives early, or else the scoreboard would have looked even differently than it was. But that's the rivalry game, and, I'm just happy again for our players. It's a great, great win. And when you think about where we were at this point last year to all the way now, there's been a lot of great football, and it's all about our players. And let's talk about like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and what Sean Barnhouse and Adam Stewart did to help them get to be able to play in this game. Just tremendous. I mean, if you really know how much work they put in to get on the field and how gutsy they are, and I'm sure the fans and everybody would just appreciate what they did and going out there and putting it on the line. And then how about the defense? Just the physicality at the line of scrimmage, running from sideline to sideline, making plays. It was just great. They had a great look in their eye. I don't think there was any doubt when we walked into the stadium what was going to happen.
Ryan, the first shot play to Jeremiah, the fourth decision to go for it and to identify him and just how.
When you get to this point of the season, there's just a lot of things on these weeks that, how it works. You have to do a lot of walkthrough work toward. Quite honestly, Jeremiah was very, very limited. So the way that for him to play the way he did with really not getting many reps all week is just a tribute to him. And then, it was tremendous. But that was a play that we had walked through. If we felt like the situation moment, you just never know what type of situations you're going to get in a game. So you have to have a lot of options. And some of them you can't. That wasn't a play that we got a ton of practice in this week really at all. About it, we walked through it, and that's again, you got to give our guys credit for putting it on the field. We felt like it was an aggressive that moment, and man, they put it on the field in a big way. But the protection was good, and obviously the throw and catch was excellent.
And you talked about wanting to win with humility and show respect to the rivalry here. But you also talked about Tuesday what it was like to be in the locker room after this game and how that celebration would be. So. What was it like? I don't know what was said. That doesn't matter. What was the atmosphere?
It was, as you can imagine, just it'll be a great memory of mine, just being in there with those guys and enjoying the win and seeing them smile and knowing what they just did on the field. I'll leave what we said in the locker room until Bill writes another book and tells a story on this one, I guess. But No, it was just happy for our guys, just to see the smiles on their faces and see the sense of accomplishment. You know, the fact that we were going to play in this game really, really hard for the love of our brother, not, you know, for the hatred of our opponent. You know, that wasn't what it was about. And that's what they did on the field today. And then all the hard work, you know, and they you know, they have phones and they, you know, read things and hear things. And so they know how important this is. And this is the number one goal of our program. So to get this one checked, and now gives us an opportunity to get to number 2, and that's in Indianapolis next week. And they were already fired up about that in the locker room.
You know, you don't like to make it about you, but what does this personally mean to you? How much sense of accomplishment? It's not like the first time we
Sure.
You've gone through a lot. What is this weight off your shoulders?
Well, yeah, to tell you that the last 4 years have been easy is not true. I take the responsibility of being the head coach at Ohio State very, very seriously. So does my family, so do the players, so do the coaches. So, you know, when, you know, you don't accomplish those things, you take it personally. And I understand what that means. I mean, my family's been here 9 years now, so there's nobody who wants to win this game more than me. But you know, to win this game, you know, it's just a great moment, and I'm just it's one of those moments that you want to just grab on for a while and just enjoy it, because, you know, just to see the joy on everybody's face is really what this thing's all about. You know, that's what being a head coach is. You know, when it's not about you, it's not about raising trophies, it's not about winning games, it's about that are around you. You know, when I say people, it's the players, it's the coaches, it's their families and the fans. And that's what it is. And winning just gives us an opportunity to continue to do that and make an impact. And I think, you know, everyone and the fans and all of our supporters can recognize all the work that gets put in. And, you know, when it doesn't go the right way, you know, nobody wavered. We hung in there, and it isn't easy. Nothing about this profession's easy, but I'm proud of the men that we have, and happy that they got this win. Yeah, I'll have to think that through when you just said that. I guess, yeah, was that scored on, or did we kick a field goal? Field goal. Yeah, still, that won't rank anyway because I kicked a field goal. That's not going to work. You can't, you can't have 20 plays and not score a touchdown. Oh, my God. When we talk throughout the year, I know you guys have been in these press conferences when we talk about what we're trying to get accomplished. And, you know, I always say, yeah, this is all great, but how sideways the Saturday after Thanksgiving? And that's exactly what it looked like today. It was still in sideways. And that's the type of game you have to win. You know, if we're playing this game in an indoor stadium somewhere, it's different. It's different. But that's what this game takes, you know, and that's what we did, you know, and we won the line of scrimmage, and, you know, it was well done by the guys. But and we felt like if we could get it to a 3-score game, it was going to be hard for them to come back. We felt like the defense was playing strong, and as much as we want to score touchdowns, like 3 scores in that game was going to become a lot. So, you know, the 3rd and 5, we tried to, you know, throw the ball in the flat to the fullback. It was probably conservative, but at that point with the snow, and it looked like we can kick the field goal. Great to see Jaden make those kicks. I mean, that's another story here of, you know, last year and this year, and he had a great look in his eye this week, and those make a big difference, right? I mean, you know, we field all the kicks, we, you know, make the field goals, we, you know, when we had the opportunities to make the shots down the field, we threw and caught them, you know, those, and then that all adds up in the end. But we also converted, you know, I guess 10 third downs and 2 of 4 on third down. So 12 of 20 between the two of them. Those were big deals as well. So a lot to it. And then I guess on defense, you know, they were 1 of 9 on third down and 0 of 1 on 4th down. So the defense did a great job on 3rd down as well. And we talk about winning the situations. Those were some big ones that came up in this game.
You took a couple of big shots for Michigan. You probably wanted to get a quick start and use that opportunity.
Right.
I feel like, okay, this is a real test for us. Now we're going to do this.
Yeah. It wasn't a panic. Yeah, when I saw the first run hit, I said, "You got to be kidding me right now! Like this is not what I expected at all." And then we throw the pick, and he comes off and thought it was cover one, and it was cover two. Okay, that's not what we wanted for start. But I didn't. I never felt panicked. I felt like, all right, we're going to rally back on this thing. And man, the defense stepped up in a big way, and forced field goals in those spots. And those are all 4-point plays. And when you can, hold guys to 3 points early in the game, and then you get it turned, and then we had that big drive, and we just keep battling, and then you score. Now, again, we get down on there on the 1 yard line and don't get in. I mean, that was frustrating. And so you kind of going back and forth. But again, there was no panic on our side. And again, I think the communication and the chemistry between the players and the coaches is very good right now, because when there's confusion, that's when there can be infighting, and all of a sudden guys start to act a certain way. That didn't happen at all. And so we had a lot of confidence coming into it. And even after a slow start, we felt good.
All the way in the back, Art. Hey, Ryan, I don't want to take you back to maybe a less fun time than it was a year ago. When you think about
It's okay, Ari. You can't ruin today for me, brother.
look, where you were last year and everything that has happened since you walked off the field in Columbus a year ago, when you think about the personal transformation of your reputation personally and what something like this means, this is the last thing that people can say about you. I mean, what does this mean for you personally? I know you were asked that already, but how much does your reputation and everything that you go through mean for building the program into the best program in college football?
Yeah, I don't get too caught up in that. What matters to me is my family, these guys right here. Like I care what these guys think. There's no question that, the fans and all of our supporters, what this means a lot to us. And so that's what hurt the last couple of years more than anything. And you could see it in my face the last couple of years. You just feel like you're letting everybody down, and that's just not a good feeling. And so you work like hell to make sure that you do everything you can to get your guys prepared. And that's all you can do. And that's exactly, it was a build up all year, and our guys really captured the moment and played great.
Coach, thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
We'll take questions for Julian. We'll go right over here to Stephen Means.
You just kind of told us that you thought it was cover one and ended up being cover two in that first play. I guess what, from your perspective, what did you see? And then also going through your head in those moments, how are you calm? Are you jittery? Like, you make a mistake that early in the game.
Yeah, they gave a good disguise, and I thought I had Jeremiah singled up one-on-one, and I ended up throwing it out there, and so the corner was able to come off and make the interception. So I think it was just our whole mindset in the quarterback room is just stay even keeled and keep swinging, keep battling. We weren't going to we knew there was going to be adversity. We weren't going to let it phase us. Adversity came on the second play of the game. So we got to keep battling. And, I think as an offense, that's our whole mindset, just keep battling.
Right over here, Spencer.
Yeah, Jordan. Did you call it Cornell? Seemed like it was in the air forever. You guys probably put you back up on a connection like that. How good did it feel to have him back on the field? And how good did it feel to make one of the deep balls to them the first time?
Yeah, I think having Jeremiah and Carnell back, it was awesome to have those guys out there. And, he ran a great route. And, I feel like the whole sideline was like, just kind of waiting on it in the air. It was hanging up in the air for a little bit, but he made a great catch. And just having those guys back is awesome because they're such elite receivers.
I'm curious what it's been like over the course of this last year, knowing how important this game was, also trying to make your routine. And then the celebration at the end with the band, the guys who were snow angels on the ground. What was that celebration?
Yeah, I think it was awesome just because I was taught the tradition of and how much it means to Buckeye Nation, how much it means to the state of Ohio. So, we definitely want to take it routine based 1 week at a time, but we knew this was coming. And it was awesome to have our fans there. And, we ended up clearing out red out.
Back there, hope.
I think they had 100. They finished with 100. What was it that made the difference to guys up for the first few drives and really shut down their run?
Just consistency. I mean, just playing the game that we play and just keep fighting every quarter in the second half, and I feel like that's what we did.
Heard even throughout the offseason how comfortable the guys felt with calming presence.
Has that felt like that always for you this season? Were there moments where there's Texas or the games running around where you kind of grown in that area, or that's something you feel like since day one has been something you've said?
I feel like that's something I've tried to, the whole season and keep, from day one. And I think as an offense, a lot of the guys on our offense are very calm, and we're not ones who are going to get fazed by a little bit of adversity. We're going to keep swinging, and that's really our mindset. Is that's what Coach Hart and that they.
Tony, just your thoughts on getting this win in your last attempt?
I mean, it's definitely something I'll always remember. I mean, it's great to come up here and do it too. So, I mean, I'm definitely excited about that. And, I mean, next week's my first time playing in that one too. So we got more to do. A lot. Definitely a lot.
Julian, I call you the California kid. I mean, you're the surfer and all of that. You think you earned some Midwest cred today coming up here and winning this game and beats?
It was funny, like around like the second or third quarter, I was kind of looking around and seeing all the snow coming down, and I think I told some teammates, I was like, this looks pretty cool. It's pretty fun. Like just seeing the snow on the ground, and I think we practiced and tried to prepare for this weather and get acclimated to it. I think the guys did a great job.
Julian, you haven't had to face a ton of adversity because of the way the offense is played, the defense is played. Early on in the game, when you throw the interception, you're down 6-0. What's going through your head? What's going through the conversations on the sideline as you're trying to get back in?
Yeah, we put our defense in a really bad spot with that interception, and they ended up forcing 3. So I think it was just no panic, and we're only down 6. Hey, let's go down and score, get 7, take the lead, and credit to our defense. Obviously, man, they played great all game, and to hold them to 3 there really just gave us a lot of confidence as an offense.
Probably already received the message from Coach David and its humility, but to keep you out of the end zone and to win on the terms that you guys have won every game this year. Like, how does that feel for you guys as a defense to do this?
I mean, it feels great. I mean, we always come out knowing that we can be the best defense in college football when we want to play it the right way and play our game. And we knew our offense come out swinging. So we knew whatever they brought to us that we were going to have to stop. And I feel like we just came out there and played as hard as we could and as fast as we could. And we kind of were just on top of it all day.
Yeah, Julian, just talk about this offensive line performance today. You had clean pockets all day back there. It felt like ran the ball well. What did you see from the front?
Yeah, I think those guys played really physical, and I think all season long they've just had an edge to them and played nasty, and just being able to run inside zone. We have RPOs out there, and we hand it off, we get 7 yards, and just you see guys getting thrown on the ground. It looks like carnage out there. It's just. Yeah, right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the head step stopped working. I think it was funny. I told somebody, I was like, "This feels like high school football." I was running over the sideline to Coach Day, get the play, and then run back in. So, I think it was just, we were prepared and we had a good plan going into it, but we had to adjust on the fly.
Just that 20-play drive and the depth of the running game, especially.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. Just the physicality that the runners ran with and then the offensive line had. And we wanted to, end the game on our terms and, keep running the ball and milk the clock and be able to pick up first downs and just wear the defense down. And I think it was awesome to see those guys up front, just really doing a good job.
I'm curious what the growth has been like to see from this group and what that statement you've made from this game.
I feel like we still have that mentality. I mean, obviously, we kind of know what we've done and we know what we can continue to do. So we just got to keep having that mentality and keep fighting every day and just get better every day.
And we've heard from a lot of players talk about the level of play that Julian Sayin has put out there. Do you think he should be the Heisman favorite, and what do you think he proved today?
I mean, duh, but he's just such a great player, such a smart player. He knows how to win, and I mean, I feel like that's no much more. So you just got to continue to do it.
What was the second coldest game you've ever played in besides this one? How much?
Probably high school football would it was like 50 degrees in high school football. It wasn't like this at all. So I would say there was not similar at all. So I think just the practice throughout the week and being able to prep and having a good plan for it, and being able to keep the hands warm and keep the just keep the body warm.
Julian, you're good. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, Bo Jack.
Bo.
Anyone have camera guy? You know how it is to be able to do this your first game. What was that like? And I assume you heard about this game of watching the emotions for you having this close.
Oh yeah, it's really a dream come true. It's just being able to go there. I mean, go in there and win, come out with a dub.
So they found a lot of different ways to get you the ball today. How crucial as a running back is that to your game that you're not just getting it going right up the middle and find a variety of ways to attack defense?
I think it's very important as a running back to be versatile and be able to do a lot of different things. So yeah.
Talk about the level of aggressiveness from the defense. I mean, you always have Michigan in front of you, but you stopped giving up chunk plays after the first quarter. What did you adjust to?
I mean, when you always come into this game, they're going to have something schemed up that's going to hit, and you just got to be able to step up the next play and figure it out on the sidelines. And I feel like we did a good job of getting over to the sidelines and figuring it out and just playing football. I mean, we're a bunch of guys out there that love the game, and we just do our job. And when we all 11 do our job, it's great to see. I mean, we definitely knew we had to keep him contained. We knew he was a mobile guy, and we knew it was his first game, scenery, and just how hostile it gets. So we knew we had to keep him contained, and we just had to make him play quarterback. And I feel like that we did a good job of that, and I feel like we had him rattled at times.
These two, and then we're going to let them go. Okay, you spoke kind of eloquently a couple of weeks ago, but the thing that's missing, you got that big national championship ring, but Michigan, and of course the Big Ten championship. What does it feel? Does it feel like what you thought it would, beating Michigan? And does this tour continue, so to speak, from a West standpoint?
Yes, I mean, I definitely feel it's really good to come up here and kind of physically dominate them like we did today, and kind of just play the game that we came in here wanting to play. And I feel like we definitely got way more on the table, and we just have so much more to prove. And this team has such a great story that it needs to be told.
Last one for Caden. Caden, what do you do with the defense do when the offense? I understand offense is a 20-play, 12-minute drive. Sandwich?
I'm warm on the sidelines. I know they're out there working hard, but I mean, it's nice to sit on the sidelines. I mean, watching film, kind of getting the little game bites that we need, and just having a great time over there, honestly. Sitting on the warm benches.
Okay, thank you.
Take care, guys.
A couple more for Bo. Bo, what can you say about your offensive line play today, and just describe what it was like? Did they get stronger as the game went?
Oh, yes, sir. All year they've been getting better week by week. They've been working very hard. Each of our run game, our successful run game today. Yes, sir.
Bo, that 20-play drive there and the third being the fourth. What was that? Michigan down, taking time off the clock, and almost all that.
Oh yeah.
That 20-play drive there, the third quarter game.
Mm-hmm.
You take 12 minutes off the clock, almost all of it's rushing. What was that like being a part of that?
Oh, it was great to be able to dominate and pound our way down the field like that. So.
Coach Day has talked a lot to improve the run game and getting it where they felt it was comfortable. How good does it feel to get to this point in the regular season and have a performance like that in the run game?
Oh, it feels really good, but we just got to keep on building off this, going into the Indian and then going into the playoffs.
Oh, this is the most favorite you've had this long. When did you kind of search the Indians after the beat?
Really, after the first drive coming into the game, you just got to get started early and then see how things play out during the game.
Yeah. Been a challenge today, a little bit of hanging on to the football. It was cold, started snowing and stuff. What were you telling yourself all game about hanging on to the ball?
Oh man, just to own the ball. That's our job. So, and then playing the elements. We practice in the rain.
That long drive, was it fun being out there with a good lead and hanging on? I mean, you guys, that 20 play drive was How would you describe it? Was it fun? What was it like?
Oh yeah, of course it was fun. Rotating the backs and then putting in work for.
Message y'all left, you think? It's our game. I mean, we never made.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's a wrap.
All right, that'll do it for the Ohio State postgame. Michigan's postgame actually wrapped up a few minutes before Ohio State's, so we're not going to be able to get that live. So if you just go to youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, we will have the Michigan postgame press conference. I'm sure everyone's going to want to watch Sherrone Moore, see if any tears start flowing. That'll be up on the YouTube channel shortly for anyone who wants to watch that. So Devin looked like a very, very happy, relieved, laid back Ryan Day. That was a very that was just a man who was very relaxed. I mean, it's been very rare to see him that relaxed after a game.
No, you're exactly right. And I know he does a really good job of explaining to everybody that, he understands his role as the head football coach of Ohio State University, that this is job number one is winning the game that he won today. And, the start he's had in his first couple of years in his Ohio State tenure, especially following, Urban Meyer, who went 7-0, Jim Tressel before him, who was what one game, I believe Tressel lost, if I recall correctly, 2003. So basically since the turn of the 21st century, Ohio State's been dominating this rival. You don't want to be known as a coach that let it get away. And for the past few years, that's, unfortunately, that's what it's looked like. So again, he talks about the pressure he feels in the fans and doing it for everybody else. But, it obviously goes without saying that he's got to feel, I don't have a strong enough word to explain how good I'm sure he feels after winning this game today, especially in the fashion that he did.
Yeah, and we got to talk a little bit, got to see a little bit of Bo Jackson there in the post game. Monster game for the freshman, 952 yards now, but 166 yards of offense today. Had not only some key runs, he had some key catches out of the backfield to extend drives, and just a dominant performance. Guys were trying to talk to him after every time he got up, and he was giving it right back. Just did not feel at all like a true freshman in this game. Looked like a guy who was in his third or fourth game. And just what they've got out of this running game since he took over has been, I think, a huge boost to this team. And it's why, people talk about that Texas game at the beginning. This is almost a completely different team at this point. The top couple running backs on this roster were not the top couple running backs that week one. So the transformation of the run game's been interesting. And as you can see there, Bo Jackson passes Archie Griffin for the number 5 spot all time on Ohio State's freshman running back list. So 952 yards. Look, he's less than 200 behind Robert Smith for 4th. He's less than 300 behind Trey Henderson and Maurice Claret for 2nd and 3rd there. Like, there's a real chance he's at least 2nd when this season is actually over. And I know you're going to get the extra games with the playoffs and things like that, but this has been just a complete revelation. I covered him in high school. I knew he'd be a really good player. I didn't know he would get the opportunities he's gotten this year, get them so early in his career. But just what can you speak to Bo Jackson's performance today and what he's meant to this offense since he got inserted there early in the season?
If I recall correctly, it was about the Ohio game where he really started to look like, hey, this is going to be the guy. And I think he's just an example of, I guess you could say, almost the offense in general, just slowly but surely, week by week, just gets a little bit better as they go. And again, this game was the exclamation point. We saw up there statistic wise, he had 170 or so, or right around there, 170 yards total offense. Took care of the football. That was a huge deal. Did put the ball on the ground. Ran hard. He had the big run, 40 yards or so, 30, 40 yards early in the game, set up the first field goal, where he showed a lot of wiggle to break out of the backfield, set up a tackler to get him go one way, made him move and broke to the outside for the huge run. So not just that, just seeing him develop as an all-around running back. And as you mentioned, couple that with Julian Sayin's ability just to find an open receiver and the catches he made in the backfield. I do recall today, at least, he had at least one first down catch on, 3rd and long, where it looked like they had everything bottled up and Sayin was going to have to just throw the ball away. He finds Bo Jackson on the backfield, who puts his foot in the ground, gets north, and picks up a first down, a 3rd and long pass play out of the backfield. And those are the ones that really defensively are the ones that are almost backbreaking, because just when you think you have everything bottled up and you're going to get off the field, the quarterback finds someone who just kind of slips out of the backfield, and he's got the ability to, one, make the catch and then get upfield and convert the first down. If you want to contrast that, look at what happened to the opponents today. How many times they tried to check down the running back out of the backfield, and they resulted in negative plays even if they caught the ball. So that's just to have a running back out of the backfield the quarterback can count on that's going to be there for him when there's no one else is huge for an offense.
Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on the defensive game plan in terms of how they handled Bryce Underwood. I think there was a lot of not concern, but maybe curiosity in terms of how they might attack Bryce Underwood. Maybe they would send a lot of extra pressure at the young guy, but that's not really what they did. They really 4-man rush, and maybe every now and then they'd bring a guy from a different angle, but they weren't bringing 5-6 guys really at all today. And as Caden Curry kind of put it in the post game, they wanted to make him play quarterback. So they really were not particularly aggressive today defensively, and that seemed to be the right strategy. Underwood was not able to make plays down the field. Any success he had, and to his credit, didn't until the end of the game there. He protected the football, but really posed no threat to them in terms of making plays down the field. And in turn, without bringing all that pressure, they were able to bottle him up in the run game as well and not let him spring anything.
No, that's a great observation. And if you look at to the game plan of just keep everything in front, don't let if you go back 2022 game, they were just obliterated with huge plays. I think that's an easy one to point at, where he just brought the pressure, tried to sell out to stop the run, get the quarterback on the ground, and it just didn't work out for them, obviously. And with the quarterback that they have now, obviously a very talented player. He's still a true freshman. And if you go back and watch his games throughout the year, he excels in chaotic situations. He's got an explosive arm that can make throws that are off balance across his body. Just very hard to defend. And obviously he's a real legit run threat as well. So the Ohio State, game plan obviously was, hey, we're going to actually slow down on defense a little bit. And make this guy read us out, find the open receiver. We're going to keep a lid on the explosives and force our opposition to drive down the field for 12, 15 plays at a pop. And, obviously they were unable to do that, and they kept him out of the end zone all game. I mean, held him to 3 field goals.
Yeah, I thought the tackling was really good today. Like even that first drive, the explosive run play, it was not like there were a bunch of missed tackles on that play. They just, they got a hole and they hit it, and big play. But you can only play that soft kind of off coverage, keeping your safeties back. You can only do that if your linebackers come up and tackle and your nickel comes up and tackles the way Lorenzo Styles did today. I thought the tackling was absolutely tremendous. This is the first time in a few years Ohio State's been the better tackling team. I think that's been a huge thing. We talk about just physical. I think we think of physicality in terms of like moving the line of scrimmage, and that's all well and good. But Michigan was the more sure tackling team the last few years. That was completely different today.
No, that's another great observation you have there. And I think that's almost the characteristic of the defense this season. If you were going to try and pinpoint a difference from the past few years in this game to what Coach Patricia's brought to them. Yes, they're doing some things that you could say are uncharacteristics somewhat to the college level in terms of coverage and fronts and whatnot. But the biggest thing is they are really fundamentally sound. You know, they play with great leverage. They run to the football. All those kind of cliche things in football you take for granted. You don't see them miss a lot of tackles ever. And when they do, there's someone right behind them to get a hold of them and put them back on the ground. I can think of an example. I think on one of the sacks, you actually saw 19 break away from Curry, I believe, but right behind him. I can't remember who it was, but there was a defender just right there to put him on the ground.
Houston.
And there's just Houston, that's exactly right. And there's just nowhere to go. And that's just really what it is. Forget the scheme and, you know, what you're doing. But when you get a team that can really run to the football, create knockback a line of scrimmage, they don't miss tackles, they put people on the ground, and they keep a lid on everything, you're gonna have a really tough defense. And that's what we've seen all season long. And you know, obviously today.
How, I guess, surprised are you by the defense this year under Matt Patricia? I mean, that was, let's not like sugarcoat this. There were a lot of people when that hire was made were like, oh, really? Like, that's the direction we're going? And the defense has been better in pretty much every phase this year. And I know he's got a lot of talent, but there's something to be said for putting his stamp on this defense. And just, again, the fundamentals seem to be better. They're certainly getting more out of their simulated pressures and things they've done that maybe were talked about last year, but weren't maybe implemented as much, but they've been able to do that this year. You know, everyone kind of talks about how complicated Jim Knowles' scheme is. I find it hard to believe it's more complicated than Matt Patricia's, who's running a legitimate NFL defense right now. What has it been like, I guess, for you as someone who coaches defense to watch this and just your surprise level or impressions on watching all this year?
You know, it's a great question. And when you go watch Ohio State's defense, you obviously can't help yourself, and you go there and you want to know, what is he doing in X and O's? That's the fun stuff. What is this coverage? What's this front? What's this pressure? But like I alluded to earlier, what you really focus in on is just how well coached they are at every level of the defense, and just how well they play their positions, owning your gap on the defensive line, playing with great extension, so that, you know, you're able to create a wall up front, the linebackers staying clean, the block destruction, the way the second level leverages the football. So, you know, what they have 2 explosive plays today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and that was it. Again, look at the years past and what's killed Ohio State in this game. It's been giving up the explosives, and there was none of those. There was 2 this year, 2 in this game, and I believe that was it.
What was on the first play?
And those first play of the game, you know, and they end up home to a field goal. Yeah. So again, just you come for the scheme, and you stay for the excellence in the teaching and the coaching. And you heard Sonny Styles talk about this, just how well he teaches the defense and the way everyone understands it. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is that they never look confused or lost, or you don't see them after big plays going, you know, who gave up that run or whose fault was that? How did that happen? They know what happened, and they know how to fix it without a lot of effort to get it corrected. And I think that's just just shows you how well of a teacher, not just the entire staff is, really, because, you know, Coach Patricia's still got to count on his assistants to teach them the fundamentals of each position. He can't coach them all, so that's just a really credit to every member of the defensive staff, how well prepared and how well they play.
Yeah, we will have we'll be hearing from Tom and Tony in the gang here shortly, and once that happens, we will have video, audio of Sherrone Moore's post-game press conference that they'll be able to share with you during their portion of the post-game. So make sure you stick around for that. I hate to almost turn the page because we just want to talk about this game and this win and everything else, but this is going to be amazing, I think, next Saturday night when they play Indiana in Indianapolis. It's going to be the first time Ohio State's in Indianapolis, where the fan base is, in my opinion, not going to be able to completely take over the stadium. Indiana fans are going to show up for this one. I mean, this is like a once in a lifetime thing for these people. So the atmosphere that's going to have, I talked about, earlier this week on different shows about how Curt Cignetti's not going to be able to help himself this week. He's going to say something provocative. I guess, how much are you looking forward to that matchup before we get Tom and Tony here to continue the breakdown of this one? I just want to get your thoughts on that. I mean, this is a team that maybe you'll have to play again, but gosh, this feels like this has been building towards this matchup all year, and now we're going to get it, and they're both undefeated, going to be 1-2.
That's what I was just going to say. I think it looks like from the way things stand right now, this is going to be a 1 versus 2 conference championship game that we're looking at next Saturday. And again, it's just a credit to what Coach Cignetti has done, that he's got Indiana in this position just in year 2. I mean, number 2, number 1, I don't keep up with the polls, but the number 2 team in the country, undefeated, it's basically looked dominant basically all season long. Won huge games. I know they knocked off Penn State. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they knock off Oregon as well? Am I mistaken by that?
Oregon?
I thought, yeah, they've just huge wins. So it's not just like they're knocking off big names, perennial powers in college football on the way to this undefeated season. Definitely earned their way there to the championship game, the opportunity to win the Big Ten championship next week. But something else you've heard the players talk about and Coach Day talk about it. I believe Caden Curry alluded to it. He hasn't played. None of these guys have played in the Big Ten championship game. So this is something else. Talk about a legacy. Put your stamp on your tenure, on your time at Ohio State. Go out and just finish your quote unquote regular season by winning these 2 weeks back to back. Leading in the playoff, and you basically have checked off every bit of accomplishment you can as a player during your time at Ohio State.
And, sport's so nationalized now, and there's kind of like no borders to anything. But here we are. Ohio State beats Michigan to go to the Big Ten championship game, where they will play another, classic Big Ten team in Indiana for the right to go play in the Rose Bowl. The winner of this game is going to be number 1, and that is going to lock them in to the Rose Bowl for the second round of the college football playoff. So it's just come full circle. There's still some tradition left in this sport.
No, it's a great observation. Again, the winner of the Big Ten goes to Rose Bowl. There's something said for maintaining some of that tradition. I did think, even going back to the Rose Bowl last year, to your point about maintaining some tradition, I know Oregon is now a Big Ten team, but they were in year 1. It still felt like you were watching, Big Ten, Pac-10 Rose Bowl game last year. I know at least it felt the way for me watching that game. So I think that is a nice unintended consequence, if you will, that we're looking at a Big Ten champion goes to the Rose Bowl coming out of this Big Ten championship game.
Yeah. Devin, any thoughts today on the play of the secondary? We didn't, the stats are so underwhelming for Michigan in the pass game, as we'll look at the graphics here. Michigan had 16 yards passing in the first half today. And you're thinking, okay, but they did have some rushing. They had 108 rushing yards, and they made a big deal about this. Like Ohio State had only given up 100-plus rushing yards twice this year. It was Texas and then Michigan, and Michigan did it in like the first 20, 25 minutes of this game. But then you look, and it's like they actually had negative rushing yards in the second half. That's remarkable. And they only ended up with 63 passing yards. So this was one of those games where, yes, Ignosin had a penalty. I thought the Jermaine Matthews PI was a little bit silly. That ball was thrown like 8 yards out of bounds. But, so a penalty or two there. But for the most part, I thought the secondary was able to lock down the Michigan receivers. Everyone's talking about, Marsh before the game and, do they need to double team him? I'm like, no, you've got all these great corners. Why would you need to do that? And clearly they were able to handle that job, but that made life so much easier. Talk about limiting explosive plays and keeping Michigan from kind of consistently putting together first downs was the play of the secondary today.
The one thing that concerned me going into this game, the biggest thing that concerned me was U of M being able to create opportunities out of chaos plays because of the talent Underwood has, the explosive arm he has. And you watch him all year long and you see him make those plays that can just be absolutely backbreaking for a defense. And he's done it all year long. So to your point, the secondary just covering everybody up, keeping everything in front, forcing Underwood to either, check it down or try and take off and run. It just gives you an example of how well the secondary played today. I know they did have the two, both corners did pick up a DPI at some point or another in the game. But again, even then they left them alone on islands and they were able to just absolutely shut down U of M's receiving core today.
How would you, as we get into the playoffs here, like Indiana, of course, great offense. Very much potentially a Heisman winning type of game here coming up on Saturday night between Fernando Mendoza and Julian Sayin. If one clearly outplays the other, it could sway a lot of Heisman votes one way or the other. But how would you, whether you're Indiana, whether you're, a playoff opponent down the line here, how would you attack this Ohio State defense? Because no one's really gotten this defense figured out yet. I mean, it's been just a season full of dominance from this defense. No one has cracked the code. Usually no matter how good your defense is, one or two games where it's just not your day, someone figures something out, or you get a look you didn't expect. How do you begin to attack this team that can seemingly play very much kind of soft, back off the line of scrimmage today, not bringing pressure, kind of dropping 6-7 into coverage, can also play it the other way, though, can come with the blitzes, the exotic blitzes, the simulated pressures. They tackle well. They've got, All-Americans at all three levels of the defense, All-American caliber players. How would you begin to attack this defense?
The teams that have had the most success, relatively speaking, this season seem to have been able to hit the defense with concepts, plays, formations that they haven't necessarily seen before on film. I'm thinking Penn State. I'm thinking, if I recall correctly, Illinois, just off the top of my head, finding some unbalanced formations, outflanking the defense in the run game, and hitting them before the defense had a chance to adjust to them. Because after they have an opportunity to adjust, you saw in those two games earlier this year that they were able to shut them down again when they tried to come back around to those concepts. They just couldn't able to execute them after the first time they ran them against the Ohio State defense. So I think that's the thing that they've shown on film this year is if you're able to get on them early with formations or plays they haven't seen on film yet, that's going to be your best opportunity to put some points on the board early against the Ohio State defense. Because again, they've shown that once you've run through those plays, what we kind of consider scripted plays, that when you force a team to go back and just run their offense, they're very tough defense to move the ball on.
So basically, try and put 40 or 50 new formations together in a single week again, to try to spread them out throughout the course of a game.
Yeah. Get them stuff they've been prepared for. Penn State, came out with the 7 offensive linemen unbalanced look and had some relative success running the ball. I believe Illinois did something similar earlier in this year as well, and they were able to move the ball a little bit. I think pass game wise, if you can get them into, and this is tough. In the past couple of weeks, you've seen Coach Patricia, and there's been a lot of talk about it on social media, how he's disguising his coverages now. If you can get them into predictable look, whatever their coverage is, hey, if we're going to be in cover, we know they're going to be in cover 2 on this. Let's attack in the middle field now. Conversely, if we know they're going to be in cover 1 in that, hey, and we're going to attack the seam routes now because we know we got the one high look that we want. So, just getting them predictable looks and potentially find a way to exploit that. And again, like I said earlier, you got to beat them with something they haven't seen before and hope it hits early.
Yeah. Tony and Tom are getting set up. We're gonna have them shortly. Just gonna be a minute or two, I think, till we get Tony and Tom in here for their segment. Again, if you want to stick around for that, they should have Sherrone Moore audio and video from the Michigan postgame, which we weren't able to get to live because the Ohio State postgame ran significantly longer than the Michigan postgame. So we'll have all that. Devin, just any parting thoughts on this team? I've talked to Juck about this on our shows a few times, just how kind of surprised I am that they were able to do this. And by this, I mean 12-0. You lost so much from last year's team. You're breaking in a new quarterback. You're breaking in new coordinators. You're coming out of the gate with a Texas team that's one of the best teams in the country. You have all these things you're trying to get into place. And 12-0 was not really on my radar this year for this team. I thought they'd be a playoff team, and I thought they'd be a team that'd be better at the end of the year than they were at the beginning of the year, and that might allow them a chance at a repeat. But 12-0, 1 seed, wasn't really on my radar. I guess, how surprised are you? Just your thoughts on how they've been able to do this year after what they sustained last year in terms of losses?
I think it's an example illustration of the process that like I talked about earlier, that we heard about a lot this week, of sticking to the process. And there's been a lot made about the style of offense Ohio State's been running this year. And I think that's an example of, hey, we're not trying to be how can I word this? We're not trying to be the best team in week one. We're trying to win the game week one and get better going into week two, and just continuing that on throughout the season. I mean, if you looked at Julian Sayin is a great example of this. They basically protected him and only let him throw the ball 10 times or whatever it was against Texas. Obviously, it wasn't only 10 times, but and then compared to now, where basically they said, all right, we're going to snap you the ball, go make plays. I mean, it just a complete growth from the past 3 months. And I think that's an illustration of how we're playing a 12, 16 game season here. We don't have to. And again, with taking a step back and looking, it's a 12-team playoff now. It's not like it was 20 years ago, where you had to be the number 1, 2 team at the end of the year to get a shot to the national championship. So things like style points and margin of victory and all that used to really matter doesn't necessarily matter anymore if you just win in advance. And that would be my takeaway, is this team every week just win in advance, get a little bit better, and just commit to the process, stick to the process, trust it, and keep getting better each week. And now we're going into week 13 now with the opportunity to win the Big Ten championship.
It's much more of an NFL schedule, NFL philosophy now. And I've made this point before. That's where I think Ohio State's at a real advantage, having someone like Ryan Day, who spent a lot of time in the NFL, because it has become that. It has become that. You don't have to go 12-0, although it's great when you do. It feels great, I'm sure, but you don't have to. But here they are, and they have, and it's just been it's been really impressive, I think, to watch. I just again, I didn't have 12-0 on my radar. You made a great point about Sayin. If you look at Texas and how much they protected him from himself, like didn't even put him in positions where he could make a mistake, to now where it's like, oh, you just threw a pick on the second throw of the game against Michigan, who you haven't beaten the last 4 times you've played them, and now you're in a 6-0 hole. Oh, okay, just go back out there and we're going to keep slinging it around. Like nothing even happened. And it just like that transformation from game 1 to game 12 is astounding. And just how much better Sayin is now too. Like he's also like earned that with his play. And so it's going to be interesting to see on Saturday night, Fernando Mendoza versus Julian Sayin for the Big Ten championship, for the Rose Bowl, for the 1 seed, and very possibly for the Heisman Trophy. I can't remember a lot of games like this over the years. I know it's not an elimination game for like the playoffs, but like there seems to be a lot in play here that it doesn't like Ohio State's not going to come into this a 20-point favorite over some crap, Big Ten West school that would have finished 4th in the Big Ten East, but got to the Big Ten championship game because of their schedule and who they play on their side of the bracket and everything else. This has a lot of juice. I think this game's got a lot of juice to it for a game that either team can lose and still probably end up with a first round bye in the playoffs.
No, that's a great observation. Again, for both quarterbacks, if you follow the Heisman stuff, best I gather, both these are guys are 1A, 1B, or 1 and 2 in the Heisman running. Obviously, again, it goes to winning the Big Ten championship and going to the Rose Bowl, something that's still a tradition. And again, for both coaches too, they talked about it today, even on the broadcast. Coach Day hasn't, despite winning national championship this past season, the 24 season, he didn't win a Big Ten championship and has not done so since 2020. So this is an opportunity for him to go out and do something he hasn't done, for 5 seasons now. And you heard Kate Curry allude to it in the press conference as well, that the guys on this team haven't won a Big Ten championship either. So I know we talked about it earlier, but it's an opportunity for Ohio State to go out there and check off all the career accomplishments that you want when you come into a place like Ohio State. Conversely, on the other side of the field with Indiana and Coach Cignetti, just how far he has brought the Indiana program from when he took it over. This would just be the absolute stamp of accomplishment of what he's done. But with Indiana to win a Big Ten championship, host a Rose Bowl, beat Ohio State, beat the reigning national champs, for that opportunity. So there is, to your point, there's a lot riding on this conference championship game for a program perspective.
All right. Well, that'll do it for Devin and I. We got Tony and Tom waiting from, it looks like down on the stadium down at Michigan Stadium. Tony, Tom, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Devin, for handling the first, I don't know how long. We will take it for I don't know how long. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, you know how they have lab-made diamonds?
Yeah.
That was a lab-made football game, and it was made by Ryan Day Industries to the specific tolerances of Ryan Day for the most fulfilling win over Michigan you could possibly have as Ryan Day, with all the crap he's taken over the last 4 years. It feels like a lot of narrative got kind of flipped on its head, and I know people love to tell themselves stories about this game, and you could certainly tell yourself stories about a team where, their expensive glory boy quarterback couldn't hack it, and, they were just not tough enough in the trenches, and they're not built for the Big Ten, and it's a good thing their next game's in Orlando where it won't snow and they can, you could tell yourself that story. That's not really the story. There's a whole bunch of other context, but I know everyone loves cheap, easy narratives.
Yes.
So that's the cheap, easy narrative around this game.
Well, one thing that was not cheap, and you mentioned him, Bryce Underwood. What was easy was handling him for the Ohio State defense.
Yeah.
This was his 12th start. It looked like his very first start. They did not want to go over the middle if they didn't have it. I think it was like 3 for 5 for 16 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
Trying not to throw. They had rushed for over 100 yards in the first half, and then I think lost yards in the second half overall. And so this was the biggest mismatch in the game.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it leading up to it.
It was the first thing we talked about on the 5 matchups that we were going to decide this game.
And it absolutely led to that stuff.
Yeah.
We got some super chats.
Mateo and Fuego. This team has a professional preparation and execution. Domination today. They shook off a smell of desperation.
Well, what I thought was really impressive was they came out and did all the dumb crap that they've done in recent years. This was not, Ohio State controlled this game from start to finish. This was Ohio State stepped on a bunch of rakes in the first quarter. They had their traditional interception in their own end of the field to start the game, which I saw that. And that was the first time I was like, oh, are they going to blow this? That's not that. There's no way they can blow this, right? They had that. They had They had a penalty that they had a penalty. They had a penalty that cost them like a 1st and goal at the 1. They had there was something else.
Even the Jordan Marshall run on the first series,
like
the
36
yards.
Game. Yeah.
Like Ryan Day's like, you said he did in the postgame. Are you kidding me? After that first run, but there is never any panic.
Yeah.
And it helps to have that defense limit that quick change to 3 points instead of 7.
Yeah.
And they kept Michigan out of the end zone the entire game.
Yeah. Michigan had 1 rush for 36 yards on the first play of the game, and the rest of the game was 23 rushes for 64 yards, which I will do the math for you. Less than 3 yards a carry, which, if you had told us, we talked about if Ohio State just held Michigan to 4 yards a carry and Ohio State ran for 4 yards a carry, they would be fine. They held Michigan basically to 3 yards a carry after that first one, and they ran for, Tony, exactly 4 yards a carry. And they did it on 47 rushes. That was 47 rushes, 19 passes, and the drive. I don't know how some people get in here. The drive, 20 plays, 81 yards. 20 plays, 81 yards. If they had finished that off with a touchdown, the first question of the postgame press been, what's your second favorite drive ever in the history of football?
He was asked, where does that drive rank? And he's like, the one that ended in a field goal? It doesn't.
Yeah, well, if they got about 5 yards away from that being his favorite drive ever, and there's not even a conversation about it.
It was one of the best field goal drives ever, especially in a situation where it puts you up 3 scores. So it was, it was a field goal, but you're perfectly fine with it being a field
20
goal.
plays, 81 yards, 11:56 off the clock. If Michigan did that, we saw Air Force and Wazoo play in a Cheez-It Bowl while we were out for the Fiesta Bowl in 2019. And Air Force had a drive like that. It was 20 plays, and it's like, wow, it was great to see that in person because we will never see that with a team that we cover ever. And then for them to do it here in the snow, in a moment where all they had to do was not let Michigan get the ball back, and there was nothing Michigan could do. And Michigan was just kind of like, well, I don't know what you expect us to do.
16 plays, 3 passes, 16 rushes, 3 passes on that drive. Kevin, you got another super chat?
Yes, George Kapler. If I pay $12 million, can I headbutt Tom or Tony?
If you have to pay us $12 million first, yes.
Yeah, and the good news is
you can have your choice.
You won't get ejected for it. You saw the Jay Sean Barham, right?
Yeah. Well, did he hit an official?
He headbutted an official.
Well, yeah. So in the Michigan postgame press conference, and boy, you want to talk about narrative. Chiron Moore was complaining about the officiating in a game where they got run over. Boy, can you imagine if that was Ryan Day and Ohio State had gotten run over like that? But either way, he said, well, the official grabbed him, and it was not like, he did say basically, yeah, you can't do that, but he headbutted the official.
Well, it was a glancing blow. Basically, the official came up, I think maybe tapped him, and he turned, and then he looked at him and went like that to him. And so he got a 15-yarder.
Yeah.
And there was also that same play. I thought Michigan was getting called because somebody pushed, I think, Austin Searveld to the ground.
Yeah, it might have been Carson Hinsman, maybe. But yeah, it was. I saw that, and that was my assumption, and they called a personal foul on someone else, and I thought,
I didn't see it until they showed replay.
Yeah.
Kevin, super chat?
Yes, Ryan Dodds, the new anti-Julian Sayin Heisman campaign slogan, quote, he threw that pick on purpose. Go Buckeyes.
So, yeah, he threw that, and I, right after I thought, oh, Lord, they're not going to do this again. My next thought was, well, Heather Dinich is going to love it because he has created some real adversity for himself, and they had to dig out of a hole, and it's on the road, and it's in the snow, and it's the team they haven't beaten in 4 years, and, oh, boy, everything's going against them. And, I mean, that first quarter, holy Moses, that first quarter, that was like Ohio State stepping on every rake they could step on. And then they exit the first quarter 6-3, and it was like, oh, this is really bad. Really bad for Michigan. That this is how the first quarter's played out. Because Ohio State's not going to spend 4 quarters stepping on rakes. And as soon as they stopped, it was like, and that's the end of that chapter.
And holding them to field goals both times just let you know that it was going to be very difficult for Michigan to put it into the end zone. Of course, they never did. Great pride taken in that from the Ohio State defense.
Yeah.
We were both on the field afterwards. I snuck down here and got out onto the field shooting video. Matt Patricia hugging everybody that he could find. I was a happy man. Ran into him as he and Ryan Day kind of came together and just some real joyous moments from the defense and the head coach.
Yeah, I was probably right there with you. So you're probably in my video and I'm probably in your video. I was not looking for you, but yeah, that was a very, very happy Matt Patricia. And boy, oh boy, was that a happy Ryan Day. Ryan Day stopped and took a picture with his son RJ on the field at the end of the game. Like this is one, like that's a family win. Like that is a family that has kind of gone through it for a few years as a direct result of this game. So then to have that win in that way and just absolutely annihilate the narratives around this whole thing, I'm sure that was about as happy outside of the national championship. That's probably about as happy as Ryan Day has ever been as Ohio State's head coach.
I mean, he said last year's loss was the second worst moment of his life. So this one, I'll hopefully get to talk to him. There's a teleconference tomorrow on Sunday, but remember in 2019, I asked him, what was your initial feeling? Was it relief or was it joy and happiness? Didn't get a chance to ask him that today, but I plan on doing that because I think this one's going to be happiness for everybody. And then maybe relief after that. But you're just so happy for the players, the coaches, his family.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end, maybe himself. So we've got some super chats coming.
Some super chats we got to get.
Offensive line dominated. Bo Jackson ran well. Defense did its job. Great team win.
Boy, great team win for sure. Bo Jackson ripped off a 36-yarder, was patient running the ball. They weren't all hits. There were some that were just, dead at the line of scrimmage. But the offensive line as a whole, making holes. But even more than that, they gave Julian Sayin plenty of time for the deep routes. He was kept clean. He was able to go third and fourth read and hit his dump off to tight ends or whomever. Will Kazmarek out on the edge, just whatever. He had time, scrambled once or twice. And I think The only issue was trying to punch it in, which has been, they've been efficient-ish with that.
Yeah.
But they were not great at it today. And yet, sometimes that costs you this game. Not being able to punch it in, ending up with field goals. That wasn't the case in this one because they did enough, and certainly the 2 big pass plays, huge part of that, giving them 14 points, which was, in fact, enough to win this game.
Yeah, they hit what they needed to in the air to, what's the best way to avoid having short yardage issues at the goal line? Well, just throw it in from 30 yards out or whatever it was. That was very clear. Like there was that sequence where they had they got stopped a couple times, and then you got the bar hand penalty. So you get a fresh start, and then it still took them a couple times. Did they end up? They went through it and they got it on that one, right? That ended up a touchdown, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Well, the one that ended up in a touchdown catch to Jelani Thurman that was then erased because of the false start.
Right, yeah,
So
false start, and then
4th
kick
and
a field
6 or
goal. That's
whatever.
right. Yeah, they kick a field goal on that one. Yeah.
Kevin.
Mike Ferguson, Michigan players defending the M after the game is ironic, considering that is the first thing they defended all day.
Well, I think if you're going to take anything from this, no one should ever call anyone a baby for, or they've got to learn how to lose with dignity, or I was in the Michigan postgame press conference last year, and Donovan Edwards is smirking and saying how Ohio State needs to learn how to lose with grace, and then Michigan's out there on the 50 and ready to fight everyone. I mean, you can watch. Don't do it yet. After we're done, then you can go watch my on-field video. That's the one that's up now. Tony's will go up a little later on, but I mean, there's Michigan players there, and they are angry, and they are upset, and they are, they are looking, they are, chasing after guys, and I mean, Michigan a lot today. It felt like they were trying to kind of goad Ohio State into a personal foul penalty or something like that. And Ohio State really did a nice job not taking the bait on that. There are a couple sort of offsetting ones, but you didn't have the Marcus Hall moment. You didn't have, someone swinging their helmet at someone. You didn't have, it was kind of, obviously there was plenty of intensity on the field, and Luke Montgomery was very intense a couple times on the field, and in the trenches especially, you'll get that, but it was they didn't really fall for it in a way that, what was it, the 2013 game where you saw the fight and Marcus Hall got kicked out and a couple guys, Dr. Wilson got kicked out. You didn't, I think that it felt like that was, maybe it was just pure emotion, but it felt like that was kind of a little bit of the game plan, and it didn't work.
I was expecting one of the backup receivers in the second half to take Jermaine Matthews out of this game because he already had one unsportsmanlike. So you just start something with him and hope you get another one and get him booted.
Yeah.
And they maintained their composure. I'm sure that was part of the halftime speech as well.
Yeah.
Don't do anything stupid. We've done enough things stupid in this one.
Well, and they were also cognizant enough of it that Davis Igbinosun, does the one thing you can't do on the football field, which is
they just played better. They executed better. We didn't play good enough. We didn't execute enough, and they did when it mattered, and they played a better game.
And then clearly some emotion behind this one for you. How are you feeling? What are you feeling right now?
Not good, right? I mean, it stings. Everybody stings. You sting for the seniors. You sting for the program. When you're in this 24/7, when you're in this for 365, this hurts. And you work tirelessly to make this, be successful. So, not just about me. It's really about the kids and all the hard work in. So, I'll put it on me. I always put stuff on me and self-reflect, self-look at, and see what we need to fix and see what we need to do. But it's got to be better.
Sherrone, the lack of quarterback pressures on Sayin, did they do something schematically on their pass pro to help that cause, or break that down if you could for me?
No, just we didn't get enough rush. There's things we could have did, we didn't do really, well enough twist game wise and things, and they just picked up the pressures and they did a good job.
Sherrone, Bryson and Andrew Marsh had been pretty spectacular for you coming down the stretch, and today it wasn't the game that you wanted or they wanted. Talk about how they were able to thwart your passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, coverage-wise, they did some things to, reroute the receivers, and we just didn't get a rhythm, right? We didn't protect well enough. We didn't get the guys open enough, all those things. But again, it's a team effort. There's no blame. There's no pointing fingers, right? It's a whole team effort. We got to work to get better at all those things for both those guys, for all those players. So again, we'll continue to go back to what we need to get better at.
Sherrone, when Jim would go through these losses to Ohio State, it almost seemed like there was something to be gained or something to learn from this. What can you take away from this type of loss, this magnitude of a loss?
I mean, we'll look at the film and see exactly what it is, but you don't want this feeling again. So, 364 days a year, working, figure out ways to win this game, along with all the other games we're going to play. But we got another game we got to play after this, so we got to regroup and try to get 10 wins. That'll be a huge success for this team to get 10 wins with such a young team. Starting 6 freshmen, redshirt freshman, true freshman quarterback, redshirt freshman running back, 3 redshirt freshman offensive linemen. So we got to regroup as a team and make sure we do that.
All right, so thank you for Heisman level producing there. Had a little issue here, and there you got to hear from Chiron Moore. It had some interesting stuff to say. The one thing I didn't put in there was a little later on, he was asked about the Jeremiah Smith, going across the goal line play, and was he juggling it? Should have been, and he obviously thought it was going to be turned. I did think it was deeply ironic that 2 years after you had the exact same play with Malik Hartford stripping going into the end zone.
Was it Denzel Burke?
Was it Denzel? I thought it was Malik Hartford, but maybe it was Denzel Burke. Right down there, same end zone.
Yeah.
Stripping the ball out right as they crossed the goal line, and that one was allowed to stand. This one was allowed to stand. It was there was a little bit of maybe the universe evening things out. But again, if Ryan Day is complaining about that after the 2023 game, Lord knows what the reaction is. So. This is probably a little bit of I wouldn't cast too many stones because your house is big but made out of glass as well.
I couldn't have faulted them if they stuck to the letter of the law, because it does leave his hands.
Yeah,
but he's never not in control.
Right. Yes.
It's on his person.
Yeah. It's kind of like the base runner who slides and then maybe goes above the base for just a hair, and if you do the frame by frame,
right.
I watched that replay 5 times, and I was trying to figure out what the heck are they looking for, because his feet were in. What are they looking for? And then someone said, here. Oh, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe, but it wasn't. That was not. And was that clear enough to overturn the call? I think
I think that was just a can of worms they didn't want to open, because I don't know that we've ever seen anything like that.
Right.
Because he gets his foot back down and it's out of bounds, so he does not reestablish.
Yeah.
Come on. You're going to take this away from him?
I think it's his birthday, for crying out loud, Tony. Yeah, it was that was that was not the reason Michigan lost. Chiron Moore is, we could have established, it was only 6-3. We could have maybe gotten some momentum again.
They could have gone 80 yards after that.
Sure, they could have, but you didn't.
Their last 7 scoring drives, maybe last 8 or 9 now, have all been under 60 yards against Ohio State.
Yep.
Super chat.
Keep talking.
All right.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to give you super chat, Tom. Did you get a photo of the final score on the scoreboard?
I did not, because I was shooting video. Boy, how did that come down fast?
They always take it down fast. I got a shot of the final score, but it was with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, so, I have shots of the scoreboard at the point that Ohio State has rushed for more yards than Michigan and all that kind of stuff. So you can do anything with AI these days.
Congrats to Ohio State for winning the rushing battle. All it took was getting a nice lead in the third quarter and then running the ball out for the rest of the game.
47 times. When's the last time Ohio State ran the ball 47 times in a competitive game?
Yeah. I don't know, when Beanie Wells went 39 carries in 2007 or something here.
Yeah, I mean, that was really – there were a couple moments that was do you want me to spell out the subtext for you here? Andrew Marsh returning the kickoff and getting tackled at the 15. That was here's the quiet part out loud. Michigan knows they can't move the ball on this Ohio State defense at all. And they need, and then a miracle happens to happen either for the defense or the special teams to score a touchdown, because they know they are cooked on offense. Ohio State knows they're cooked on offense because, Ohio State very clearly was sort of managing to, Ohio State punting on. Like, that's a moment when Ryan Day absolutely wants to go for it, but he punts because they're at the 42-yard line or whatever. And, watching Michigan, it reminded me of that 2007 game where it's like, Ohio State is 14 points. Unless Ohio State, commits 7 safeties on themselves, Michigan is not going to beat 14 points. So, you can just sort of manage the game, manage the clock. You would have loved to see the punt down at the 1 and not go into the end zone for a 25-yard net, which makes my skin crawl. But, you sort of understand situationally why they made that decision.
And it still worked out. And how about Ohio State targeting Andrew Marsh more than Michigan? He got the kickoff return, never had a pass thrown his way.
Not once?
No.
Wow.
Well, maybe in the last 5 minutes when I was moving towards down the field. But, yeah, while the game was involved, and maybe there was a pass interference or something, but no catches in this game for him. Outstanding job by Ohio State, limiting Michigan's best offensive weapon through the air. And then, of course, we had talked about, Jordan Marshall. I wonder how well can he hold up. He did not hold up very well.
Right. Yeah.
It sounded the early run, and then didn't do much after that. Came back later on, did not do much after that.
Chiron Moore said that, I don't know if this was in that clip or not that I edited, but Chiron Moore said that he re-aggravated the earlier injury, the shoulder injury, and then tried to come back in later. But that was, I saw people like, well, you can't blame them. They lost. The game changed when Jordan Marshall. And I was like, Jordan Marshall's been banged up. Like, you could not go into this game and going, well, as long as Jordan Marshall, who, had an AC joint or a shoulder or whatever it was 2 weeks ago, as long as he's okay and can carry the ball 50 times, what can go wrong?
He didn't play last week.
Right. And yeah, that was like very clearly, if that's, that was very clearly plan A. And it's like, well, okay, you got to have a plan B because he's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
This is an Ohio State defense that does not mess around. You saw some big hits. Holy pants, did you see some big hits in that game? And it was like, him running the ball 30 times was never going to work. So, yeah, they got what they could get out of him, and he had a great run off right off the bat. But that was not surprising to see.
Donuts.
Yeah, whipping.
They did a very good job of adjusting and completely shut down the running game. And then you put the game more into Bryce Underwood's hands, and that you could tell they were uncomfortable doing that. And this was not like Michigan, JJ McCarthy against Penn State, where they were able to run the ball and they could hide JJ.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't hide anybody in this game because none of it was working. And then to see, like, one of their best pass plays was in the double or triple coverage that somehow Donovan McCulley.
Right. Yeah.
He just, like that, you were not going to be able to survive on doing stuff like that in this game.
Right. That was one of those, like, congratulations, that's not sustainable kind of plays. And I think, you go back and watch the entire week of shows we did, and we're talking about, with Bryce Underwood, he's going to throw the ball into coverage. And he has sometimes gotten away with it. He has had passes tipped, and somehow Michigan always comes down with it and throwing into double and triple coverage, and it generally doesn't get intercepted somehow. He got away with one again there, but that's like, once, congratulations. Now what are you going to do? And there was not anything else there. They got to the point where he had thrown in the first 25 minutes of the game or whatever. It was 1 for 3 for 10 yards. And it was like, the Vikings might draft him at halftime if he's any more, like, obviously not trusted by the Michigan coaching staff.
Future Dallas Cowboy, as Kevin meanders.
They call him 19. That's his alter ego.
So the other side, the other quarterback, Julian Sayin, 3 touchdown passes. The early interception said he thought it was going to be a cover 1. It was cover 2. Guys did well. Threw it right to him. I saw that one coming. As soon as he threw it, I looked over and it's like, well, Jair Hill is like, he's already got his hands up waiting for this pass. I'm like, well, that's going to be an interception. After that, he started off 0 for 2, then connected on 13 of his next 15 over the course of 2 or 3 quarters, and had the 2 long ones. Was over 70% completion percentage. As you said, overcame the adversity terrible interception to come back and lead his team to victory. Now, was it a last-minute victory? No.
It was the last minute of the first half.
Well, so there you go. There you go. And now, not that we're ready to move on, but this is something we've been wanting to see. Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sayin in Indianapolis, Big Ten title, number 1 overall seed.
Rose Bowl.
Heisman. And all it took was complete domination on the line of scrimmage by both sides of the Ohio State line.
Yeah, and that was another thing that we talked about all week was this Michigan offensive line is not up to the standard of recent Michigan offensive lines. They're young, and they're young is a big part of this year's Michigan story. Bryce Underwood, he's young. True freshman. Andrew Marsh, true freshman. Offensive line, 3 redshirt freshmen on there. Did Evan Lake play?
I don't know that he did.
I don't think he did. He was out there. He was warming up.
I don't know
he
how
was
much.
on the bike.
Did Max Bredesen play? I saw his backup 42 in there.
No. He got off the bus. He was the first guy getting off the bus on our pregame show with crutches and a boot. And it's like, well, that answers that.
Well, he was doing warm-ups, though. He was warming up. Yeah, so it's like, this guy's give it a go.
Yeah.
And certainly he wanted to be out there and for as much as he was possible. But, he just like the John Simon thing in 2012, sometimes your body just won't let you.
And, Ohio State, that was Michigan's offensive line not being able to get Ohio State's defensive line off the spot to run the ball and not being able to, it felt like Ohio State could do kind of whatever they wanted to with the defense in terms of, do you want to just keep Bryce Underwood contained? Okay, you can do that. Do you want to pressure him? Okay, you can do that. And on the other side of the ball, we talked about it all week. Kenneth Grant is not walking through that door. Mason Graham is not walking through that door. The interior of the Michigan defensive line is fine. They're not bad, but they're fine. But this is not a Michigan defense that wins with a just okay middle of the defensive line. Jashawn Barham, other than the one, you didn't really see him. He had a tackle, I think, on a run at one point. And Derek Moore had a pretty quiet day. It was just Ohio State's offensive line just dominated the line of scrimmage. It was Ohio State won this game in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Ohio State Michigan the heck out of Michigan in this game. Well, they threw the ball well, so it's not exactly.
Right. Julian Sayin was asked, what's the second coldest game you've ever played in?
Mm-hmm.
He said, there's like a game in high school where it was like 50 and it was pretty cold.
They have not really had weather games. This is the first weather game all season. And it wasn't, it wasn't a wind tunnel or anything like that. It was breezy a couple times, but not bad. The snow, rain would have been much more of an impact on the passing game. Wind would have been much more of an impact on the passing game. This gave you cool visuals in a game where Ohio State was able to throw the ball just fine.
Yeah, you can see it behind us. And you could see the accumulation just based on the field. The green started getting a little lighter and grayer. And then eventually you could see Brutus over in the corner doing a script Ohio in the end zone. And then also Xing out the M in the Michigan in the end zone as well. So it's like, okay, there's clearly snow out there. Not a lot. And then by the time it's snowing more, Michigan is already they're down, and now they're in a situation where they have to deal with the weather.
Right.
And did they handle it? I mean, I think the Ohio State defense was the much larger problem. Just as most defenses, most good defenses, great defenses are, they're going to be a bigger problem than the weather. Michigan's defense was a bigger problem than this weather. It was good to see all of the things that we've been talking about all week. We didn't look like idiots like last year.
Yeah, well, it was
attack the corners deep.
Yeah.
The safeties won't be able to get there.
Yeah.
Patricia over Bryce Underwood.
Yeah,
the two biggest things
Michigan can't win in the trenches this year. It was, sometimes you get surprised by something. This was, I think I picked 27-13. So it's like, it's pretty much the game I expected. And in the way that we expected. We have had games this year where the final score is like exactly what we picked, but it's like, boy, I didn't think they'd get there that way. So it's
you didn't see this in the postgame. Ryan Day said, talking about the conditions, he's like, if this was in a controlled environment indoors, and he's just smiling.
Oh yeah.
He's like,
yeah.
It would have been a different game.
Yeah, the score would have started with a 6, and it would not have ended with that saying. There would have been two digits. That was that was a Michigan defense that the secondary all year, they were getting away with it all year long. Go back and listen to our Michigan Mondays for like the last 5 weeks, and it's like, the Breaking Bad, they can't keep getting away with it. They did not get away with it. And they almost, on the first play of the game, didn't get away with it because Cardinal Tate was behind Zeke Berry and the ball was a little underthrown. And Berry, to his credit, made a heck of a play on the ball. That was one of the best plays in the ball I've seen from Zeke Berry all year, which, then I'm thinking.
He had another one, last one as well, but
But then also got several times. And, it was, you could tell Michigan was in a no-win situation because if they kept their safeties back, you weren't going to give up the big plays necessarily through the air, but then Ohio State could run the ball. So Ohio State could win in the trenches, and you needed to bring those extra guys down. If they couldn't bring those extra guys down, or, if they did try and bring those extra guys down, that's when it was just, I think I put this out. This is the Buckeye Weekliest podcast we've done in a long time. It was, I tweeted this out at one point. Like, if Michigan doesn't have two safeties back, if they don't have their safeties back, Ohio State should be taking a deep shot on every drive. Every drive. It was just, that was going to be there unless Michigan decided to make it not there. And then when they did, then Ohio State was able to, all right, we're going to run the ball, and that's fine.
They also hit Will Kazmarek down the seam. They're
Okay, I don't know what happened. All right, so do we want to try and get some of the super chats?
Yeah, but we got to go rapid fire on these things. All right, because we got like a million of them. Big Daddy
That's not a bad
thing. Coach Jay seemed to have post-nut clarity in the press conference until the game. After the game, I know I did. He paid $20
after
to get his comment.
After he saw Brutus on the field, then it was. That was, I think Ryan Day has probably, when he, closes his eyes at night, has pictured that exact game in his head for probably more than a year, probably for several years, and it hasn't happened, and it hasn't happened in frustrating ways. And, that was Scott Farkas getting just annihilating Scott Farkas. That was it. And then after the game, Sherrone Moore is the one trying to chase his players, yelling at his players. Again, watch the video I posted. It is like they are mad. They are big mad about the audacity of Ohio State to even. And they said in the press conference they were worried that Ohio State was going to do something to the block end. Which, okay,
what can you do?
I think the Ohio State players wanted to. The Ohio State coaches chased. Like again, you'll see on that video, Ohio State coaches are like telling them, "Go."
I was following somebody, and I can't remember which lineman it was. They did kind of get pushed, like they had an Ohio flag with them.
Oh yeah,
and then it's like it did not get planted, and so he just like kind of walked away with his Ohio flag. But Ryan Day said afterward, end the game there. I've thought a lot about what I would say after this win. Instead, I'm just gonna win it with humility. It's like, all right, you're a bigger man than me.
Can I control F Lou Holtz in the post-game transcript? No.
Mike Hugh, thanks for the coverage all week.
Yeah, thank you. We're as Tony said this before the game, like this is the game that we look forward to all year, and we just love this rivalry and try and cover both teams. Like that. The happiest I've been all weekend was when I think it was one of the police officers, like with a Michigan sweatshirt or something like that, came over and said how much he enjoyed our coverage. And it's like, thank you. That's good. We try to do this professionally, and there's plenty of less so out there. So we try, and it's, with this game in particular, we try and treat this rivalry with the respect it's due. And so we do appreciate your support.
Mike Ferguson breaking Lane Kiffin to Michigan.
Lane Kiffin to Michigan. No, I don't believe that.
I don't believe that.
I think I don't know if it's been announced.
Do you see this stuff coming down from the sky? This is not Lane Kiffin weather. Lane Kiffin doesn't like living in Oxford, Mississippi. Lane Kiffin still has a place in Boca.
I don't know.
Lane Kiffin would not enjoy Ann Arbor, Michigan.
I don't know if it's been announced for LSU yet. Everybody's still waiting for that to happen.
Mike Ferguson, $10 if Kevin runs out onto the field and does a snow angel on the live stream.
Well, has he already paid?
We need.
No, and I'm not doing it.
Well, so here's the question.
My computer's already doing it.
Would you rather have Kevin do a snow angel, or would you rather have Kevin lick this metal pipe and see if his tongue sticks?
We triple dog dare you. Triple dog super chat you.
Jordan Kapler, when was the last team was held to 0 touchdowns?
So the last time Michigan was held to 0 touchdowns, I was trying to think about that.
In this game?
I don't think we care about other games. I was trying.
14-3, 2007.
2007 is the one that came to mind because they scored 10 in 2009, right?
Was it 42-7?
It was 42-7. That was 2008. 2010 was.
Yeah, they're 38-6 or something.
I think the answer is 2007.
That's the one that I'm sure
right.
about. But
yeah,
the Rich Rod years in the early, I think maybe 2007, maybe 2010.
You know the moment that was the tip off for how this whole day was going to go. We pull into the parking lot at Pioneer High School across the way, and Kevin rolls down his window, or you roll down your window to give your parking thing to the person. What's the first song we hear? Country Roads Take Me Home. And it's like, is Rich Rod back? What is going on? And
it's almost like he never left.
TK, any conversation on the power mysteriously going out during the game?
Wait, what?
I don't know. The helmet comms for Julian Sayin went down at the start of the fourth quarter. So I don't know if that's what that was, but he did say they had plans for that. Almost like, hey, don't be surprised if, but I didn't know. We never lost any power in the press box. There never any lights that went out that I was aware of. So that's news to me, other than helmet comms. So maybe on the sidelines, the power went out.
The one thing that I didn't get to put onto Twitter that I enjoyed was Michigan. Now you have these different things and you're signaling in and whatever. And they had one of those signs, the signs with the different thing. And sometimes it means nothing. But there was a point where they held up a thing and it was just the New York Jets logo. And it's like, ooh, the way this is going, I know you have been running that play a lot. Yes.
Patricia Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Boy,
yeah.
Boy, I'm going to fall down these.
Try not to do that.
No, the Matt Patricia thing, because that was laughed at by all of the Detroit Lions fans who are also Michigan fans. And the laughing now is, boy, like into a tumbler of, whiskey or a bourbon or something like that, where it's just, they got that one wrong. Ryan Day got that one exactly right. The only question now is how much longer will he be around? But again, we tell you every time we talk about him, he looks like he's having the time of his life, and that included this one. Be interested to talk to him about how does this compare? You've won Super Bowls, but like, what is this like? Because this is more for Ryan Day. I think, like for him, I think I heard him telling Ryan Day, like, I told you so, while they were hugging, and so he's clearly having the time of his life.
Yeah, and do you want to go back to the NFL where the talent is kind of even, or do you want to be at Ohio State where you enter 8 games a year with, you're going to win this one, and in the other ones, you often still have a huge talent advantage? I mean, Arvell Reese is going to cost a lot of draft capital, and Matt Patricia just walked in and like, oh, well, here's this guy. Arvell Reese had like 2 plays in a row where he was covering someone out it was a running back he like stayed in front of and brought down. And then there was another one where Bryce Underwood threw a hospital ball to Bryce Cusdahl. And I thought he was going to just like split into a million little atoms.
Kevin?
Mike Freno figured out Super Chat. OSU is still not allowed an opponent to cross the 50 in the second half with the chance to tie or lead.
Oh,
that's regular season's over. That's wild. Now, I'm going to guess that streak will end next week. I think that next week, and don't worry, we'll have plenty of time to break down next week's game.
You just wait.
Tony already put together a spreadsheet. I'm not sure.
I gotta start doing that in the car.
I'm not sure I'm emotionally ready for another week of spreadsheet podcast schedule, but yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. But yeah, I think next week is going to be a game where no one gets to 30. And potentially both teams get to 20, and that's going to be a real
four quarter game.
Oh, that's going to be a 4-quarter game. Yes, indoors, dry fast track, warm
post game.
Warm post game. We could go for.
We'll go outside for post game.
My bigger question is, did Ohio State, did Matt Patricia force a fourth quarter punt today? I think that's what I'm most concerned about because
Let's see.
it feels-
Let me read the Michigan drive chart to you, and you tell me.
Okay.
6 plays, 48 yards, field goal. 6 plays, 32 yards, field goal. 3 plays, 5 yards, punt. 11 plays, 54-yard field goal. That happened at 5:24 in the second quarter. 5:24 left. After that, a kneel down right before the half. 4 plays, 26 yards, punt. 7 plays, 29 yards, punt. 3 plays, -6 yards, punt. 4 plays, 5 yards, interception.
So is that a yes or a no?
That's a yes. That is
Are you sure?
Yes. Fourth quarter, Michigan took over at their own 25, 8:10 left on the clock in the game, went 3 plays to -6 yards and punted.
All
so
right.
there you go.
Good.
The curse, she is broken.
Mika Hanna, love you guys. Go Bucks.
Mika, thank you very much. I always appreciate the support. Hope you're doing well.
Mike Ferguson, who gets the caught of shame in Indy?
I don't know. We have.
I won. Yeah, I won.
Yeah. Kevin for being soft and wanting to do the post game indoors.
My hands feel like they're being stung by bees. Mike Farino, Tennessee's beating Vandy with 2 to go in the half. LSU and Oklahoma are tied at half.
Thank you for those updates.
You know who that doesn't matter for at all anymore?
Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah, they are done. They're officially out of the playoff hopes. I did see, I think, Citrus Bowl representatives here today.
Yeah, and that's probably where they end up going because it's them or USC, and I'm sure Michigan, because Michigan went to whatever the Outback Bowl is last year, right? So they probably don't want to do that again.
Right.
And so, yeah, and this is, we should real quickly talk about Michigan for a minute. This is not a bad Michigan team. This was not a bad Michigan season. This was the Michigan season that we saw coming. We saw this cab coming on Broadway with its doors open for blocks and blocks. This was a 8-4-ish team that had some good close game luck, won a couple close ones where they kind of won their clunkers, but they had a true freshman quarterback who was basically the only guy who played quarterback all year, and their best receiver was a true freshman, and their starting running back got hurt, and then their second string running back got hurt, and their offensive line got banged up, and they did not. They were a little light in the pants in the interior of the defensive line, and they lost some guys at linebacker. And they're young. They had some bad injury luck. All that considered, 9-3. That's a pretty good season for Michigan. And this is not and they'll never be back again. Like this Michigan team will come loaded for bear next year in Columbus.
I think the best thing I can say about this Michigan team so far, they didn't lose to anybody they shouldn't have lost to. They didn't beat anybody that they shouldn't have beaten.
Yeah.
But all of their losses, all of their wins were as expected, which at least you didn't lose something like the Northwestern game.
Oh, yeah. They tried.
Okay.
Mateo and Fuego, gents, thank you for your amazing coverage on the team this regular season. I'm looking forward to BH's postseason.
Thank you very much, as always, for those super chats and that one. And we are looking forward to the postseason as well. Like it's been a while since we've been able to cover a Big Ten championship game, and it's been a while since we've been able to do it right.
Yeah. The last time we were there was not the traditional Big Ten championship game,
and we've never been able to cover a 1 versus 2 Big Ten championship game.
Yeah,
which is pretty incredible. So yes, there's a spreadsheet. A lot more coming. In fact, maybe 3 podcasts recorded in the car on the way home.
Mike Ferguson, Larry Ellison could have given me half of that money also to throw 0 touchdowns.
Well, I know everyone's kind of getting their jokes off about Bryce Underwood. Bryce Underwood may very well beat Ohio State at some point in his career. If he did it as a true freshman, the question would be, is Ohio State ever going to beat Michigan again? And very clearly, the answer is yes. They are. But Bryce Underwood is going to get better. Now, Bryce Underwood got better, but there's still stuff that I look at with him that I'm like, I still don't love those mechanics, and I don't love how he looks when he's under pressure. Now, that's fixable. Will it get fixed? Terrell Pryor didn't really get fixed the way you would have sort of expected during his career.
I have concerns about the quarterback development here and how it's going to progress, because he looks like a true freshman making the same start against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's just the third downs weren't converting, the confusion, everything was slow. You could tell that they had a huge, like Ohio State had very high confidence that they were going to be able to control whatever they wanted him to do, and they kept him contained. And he couldn't run, couldn't throw, and when he finished with 60-some yards passing and
Yeah.
less than 10 or so yards rushing. So that's a big boy there. Kevin? Super chill.
Like you, I expect at least 30 podcasts this week.
At least 30 podcasts this week. I honestly think we hit over 30 this week with Buckeye Weekly and Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning. Definitely over 30.
Yeah.
There were probably 25 to 28 Buckeye Weeklies this past week. I don't know if we're going to go that far.
Well, and
22
so
tops.
One of the things that we got to do this week is rewatch a bunch of Indiana games, which is going to take a lot more time.
Yep.
So that's going to chew up. So you probably will not get in terms of raw numbers. Michigan, we already watched the games. We do that every week. We didn't. And I don't know if I'm emotionally ready for Indiana Tuesday to follow Michigan Monday. Like
Tuesday,
not yet. Oh,
Have a couple of pumpkin spice lattes on me on the way home. Thanks for the great content, gents.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the pumpkin spice latte money.
I might dip my fingers in that. It is a little.
I was going to put them up into the vents and just wait until they thaw out. Toes too. So I don't know how I'm going to drive. Cruise control, toes up in the vents. Kevin?
If the budget for next Michigan Monday be $12 million.
The budget for the next Michigan Monday be $12 million.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know how much these super chats are for, so that's really up to you
it's
guys.
up to the people.
We're not quite at 12 million yet.
No.
11.5. That's what we're looking for.
Is there an L. Ellison in the chat? No.
By the way, Tom,
What about
I will,
Larry E? No?
I will tell you the bold predictions. You did hit your 1.5 pointer. So a new era has begun in the bold predictions. Unfortunately, Kevin.
Fort Wayne Buckeye, drive home safe, fellas. See you in Indy.
I'm going to attempt to drive home safely. We're going to get out of here in a little bit. Hopefully, I mean, this is not. I mean, you've got maybe a quarter of an inch of snow on the ground right now. We're going to head south, where it's always nicer and warmer. The roads are better.
You would assume the Michigan Department of Transportation would be familiar with this. This is not like doing this in whatever Houston or whatever when they get a quarter of an inch of snow. But
maybe.
Hey, thanks for all the content this week. You're probably sick of each other. Hopefully not to a Day Knowles level.
Listen. Not any more than a normal week.
Right. Yeah, and not to a Dave Knowles level, but still a pretty healthy level. I mean, there's a lot there.
Tony's going to go start a Penn State podcast.
Last one we have at the moment. You guys are the best. Thank you, and look forward to Indy coverage.
I am looking forward. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the Indy coverage as well, and it starts on Sunday. There will be, as I mentioned earlier, teleconference from the head coaches, Kurt Signetti, Ryan Day. I don't know that we'll do a reaction or anything to that. That's going to be at like 3:30. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we have to get done before then, after then, during then, after then. This is why we spreadsheet, people.
Yes.
So, Tom,
right.
do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Well, Kevin's nodding like he really wants us to wrap up, so I feel like we should talk about something. How was the food in the press box? I'm fine. Listen, like I said, I live in ice. Fine, I can do this all night.
Well, then, for Kevin's sake, for my sake, for Tom's sake, for all of your sakes, we want to thank you all for tuning in. As always, hit that thumbs up if you've not yet done so. Continue to support us however you see fit. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.